Hey everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com, and welcome to the daily futures and cryptocurrency market outlook for tomorrow's trading. That's going to be the 19th of September. Overall, coming back from the week with an okay day of movement. It certainly wasn't the most volatile thing in the world, but it also wasn't dead slow either. It's a nice even ground. I'll take that. I'll take that over a sleeper Monday any day of the week. So pretty good day coming back after the weekend. Hopefully everyone had a great weekend and was able to rest up a little bit and get ready for the week ahead. Now, as always, before we jump on in, a couple things we like to take care of first. Swing on over to slingshotfutures.com, scroll down, and grab the Join the Daily Outlook newsletter. From this, you'll be able to sign up your email on our email list so that you'll be notified every time one of these videos comes out. Along with that, in the email itself, aside from just the video, we go over different stocks, different options, cryptocurrencies, forex, anything of interest, along with any interesting news or notifications goes out to that list as well. So make sure to sign up for that if you haven't done so already. And then on the left side here, live trade room subscription and trial info. If you click on that, that's where you can sign up for a 3-day trial in the room with us, and that way you can kind of see what we're all about. Hang out with us for a few days. You can see the live trade room, to see the charts, see the trades that we're looking at, just all kinds of great information that you can get from those 3 days. And of course, if you do enjoy those 3 days, you can sign up with a monthly or weekly subscription. And of course, if you join as a full-fledged VIP member, you get the live trade room as part of the package. And don't forget to check out some of the discounts there for membership if you are considering joining up. Got to save a little bit of money. Now, looking at the overall moves that we have going on for today, we've got the euro with mostly a range-bound sentiment. There's not really a whole lot going on. They tried getting a good run down at around 3 o'clock, but then quickly took it all back towards the upside there, and then we went a little bit sideways into a wedge. They tried breaking down again, and that ended up with a higher low. The sellers are trying, but they're not gaining any ground. So with the sellers failing, we have to zoom out and think, well, maybe we're just looking to continue this strong bull trend. We have a wedge that's forming from that larger picture. Everything is looking fairly strong, and now they're even buying ahead of the lows of those the wedge bottoms, which is giving even another clue that the buyers may be trying to give this one more good push to the upside before the sellers can take over. The sellers have tried more than their fair share of times, and they're just not getting anything going, and that leads me to believe that there is a decent amount of seller weakness in this market. Now, the euro does have a big amount of buy support sitting on 19,835 to 40. It's already bounced off of that, but if it does come back in the overnight session, that is a big area of interest. In the interim, we have broken out to the upside, looking for that big 2,000 level, cutting right through price. If you look at that 2,000 level, it has been no joke. We've had a bunch of support coming off of it, a bunch of resistance coming off of it, and more recently we've broken above, anticipating a kind of medium-term pullback at around that area at 2,000 for the bounce back to the upside to see if we can finish that move off. The value area, where it seems to be every time we get up there, buyers seem to start taking some profit off the table, is around 22.10 up to 22.69. Again, we are in a bull trend, and if they do want to break higher, we do have some definite objectives above that, but we need to break through those areas first. If we can start breaking away from that, then we're looking at that area to be kind of responsive as a level of support and resistance. Resistance on the initial attempt, and if they can break through it, use it as support for continuation to a new high. So plenty of areas of interest along the way. Definitely looking to buy, and we may even have a little bit of a mid bounce at around that 2,000, that 1.2 big level of interest along the way. Over on crude oil, nice bearish momentum throughout the entirety of the day, and we are going to be closing relatively strong with the downside as well. The open was the high print of the day, including ETH. We never came back, so we are going to have a monster daily bear bar to the downside with just a little bit of wick on the bottom and no wick on the highs. None. We opened up and immediately fell. So with that amount of bearishness coming into play, we obviously have gold sitting very heavy. We're not really letting the buyers come in at all, and every time they try, they just get clubbed on the head and knocked right back down again. It's like whack-a-mole that we're playing here with the buyers. They have gotten a little overzealous to the downside, though. They started kind of expanding their territory, if you will, poking their head out of the hole. And, well, the downside sellers kept it going for a little while, but notice that amount of weakness that came in on the lows. The sellers completely dissolved when they came back. Now we're starting to see sellers getting trapped. We could be transitioning into a little bit of a range, which makes sense. After this big of a move down, you anticipate markets just trying to find some balance here before they either continue or reverse. So with the anticipation of reversing into somewhat of a range here, we're looking for resistance at 12.3 up to 13.8, and really just the mindset of selling down to the lows, and then from there, so far the sellers haven't shown a whole lot of interest in continuing it with those double failures, and I'm anticipating about the same thing for the first couple times around at least. So looking to buy off of that in terms of buying out of your short positions, and looking to maybe sell off of that again for another continuation. But the lows of that range at around 1309, probably going to end up getting stuck there for a while if they don't immediately break down in the overnight. Over on crude oil, for the most part, range bound, not really a whole lot going on here. Very similar to the euro. We had a open, they tried making a rally to the upside, that failed, tried making a drop to the downside, that did catch two legs, but then more recently they gave all of that back. So now we're just kind of stuck in an area of no man's land. We have an open that's going to be right here, and we're going to have a close that's going to be right around the same price, and that's going to leave us with one monster doji. Wick on the highs, wick on the lows. More wick on the lows than the highs, I guess, if you're looking for some form of, you know, I guess backbone to it, but there's not really much. We're not getting a whole lot of movement outside of both sides attempting, but not really gaining any ground. The one thing that does stand out very heavily here is the fact that we broke above the highs, and it looks like they got a little overzealous up here. And the fact that they got overzealous up there, they pushed a little too hard, they got exhausted, and they had to correct lower. That correction lower came back in towards that bottom edge, and this is major buy support areas for longer periods of time. These are the buyers that are going to be looking to buy in for the next couple weeks, couple months even, depending on if they're trading the futures or maybe something like an ETF. But this is the way that the buyers are going to be looking to get in at cheaper prices. So what I would like to see here is we've already had the bounce off of the bottom, and we're probably not going to see those prices again unless something drastic changes. So really more what I'm looking for is the market after that big bull rally to come back to where they failed before, right? They had that little pause and then the breakdown. I would love to see a retest of that pausing area. Now that is kind of a distance between 50.09 to 49.97, that area, not to mention of course that big $50 mark smack in the middle of that. But that's kind of the zone that we're looking for. I would prefer to even try to narrow it down lower and say 49.97 might even be a little bit better. But if we're looking for an area of interest and you really wanted to narrow it down to a zone, maybe just that low wick that they formed is going to be the area of interest, and that's going to put us at 50.06 down to 49.97 for a retest bounce back up towards the high. So really just looking to play this on a bull bounce and continuation towards the top side as long as we can break out of this falling resistance. So definitely a bull in the bigger picture, and the shorter term picture starting to give us some clues of that bullishness as well. And then finally on the S&P had a trap low, very similar to what we saw in crude oil, just zoomed in a little bit. We didn't have to zoom all the way out to find this one. Pretty obvious. We were in a little bit of a range. We started the day with an open here. We're going to be closing the day with pretty much a close right there with a big doji on the day. But it's really tough to ignore the fact that they cycled to a new high, then down to a new low, then to a new high, and then down to a new low. The anticipation of this, of course, is going to be to cycle back to a new high again, and that's going to put us back at around 25.06, maybe a little bit further up on the day. And looking at kind of the same scenario here that we were just talking about on crude oil, where we had that attempted little pause, they broke underneath it, failed. You're looking for a retest of that at around 2,500, big level by itself, and then looking for that bounce back up for continuation. So fairly straightforward here on the S&P, looking to buy the dip down to 2,500 and then push back up towards a new high to finish the move off. So that's going to do it for the futures outlook. Now, in terms of news for tomorrow, we don't have a ton, but we do have some things to work with. Tomorrow morning, out of Germany, we have the German ZEW economic sentiment for September that's forecasted at 12.5. The previous was 10 flat. At 8:30 tomorrow in the U.S. session, out of the U.S., we have the building permits for August forecasted at 1.22 million. The previous was 1.223. So pretty much right in line with, previous. Not really a big change, no big surprise numbers, unless it does come out as a surprise. Tomorrow might be another fairly slow day, not a whole lot of news, not a ton to work with. And the news that is coming out, it's coming out fairly early in the U.S. session, and that doesn't leave a whole lot in the afternoon, or even late morning for that matter. So play it safe tomorrow, going into a relatively wide day of range, lots of dojis on the daily charts, with a couple exceptions, crude oil being a pretty, or gold rather, being a pretty nice bear one. I think I called that one crude oil earlier too. Gold is looking pretty good to the downside, but everything else pretty sideways, pretty range bound, a little bit choppy. Just play it safe. Now, onto the cryptocurrencies. We have had our bounce back up. We got our sale prices down to 3,000. Just phenomenal area of interest. 3,500 down to 3,000 was fully on sale. We've been talking about that for quite a while, and it's already bounced up and tested 4,100 today. So beautiful bouncing off of that. If you caught that area, if you didn't catch that area, I mean, man, it's really tough to want to jump on board right now. We're really high in this move. You know, what I would rather see here, if you didn't catch that pullback area at around 3,000 to 3,500, I think you'd be better off waiting for maybe just a little bit more of a pullback. You could be looking for a shallow pullback, something like that at around 37, 3,800. You could be looking for a much deeper pullback down to around 3,500 again. But either way, we might just be a little bit too expensive to jump on board right this second. I think it's better to wait for prices to pull back just a little bit. Now, the longer term projection on Bitcoin, we have a rocket ship market on our hands. This is a very healthy correction that we saw, and certainly not really much of a concern in the least. This market is just an absolute beast to the upside. It's a machine, and it does not stop going up. And every time we get a quick snap down, buyers realize it's on sale and shove the market right back higher again. And that's exactly what we're coming off the backs of. So I am looking for that 5,000 level to start testing. Maybe this week. It might take a little bit longer than that. But I think a lot of buyers did buy on that dip at around 3,000, including JP Morgan. Yeah, a little bit of an interesting one there. Pushing back up towards the highs. And I think the objective at 5,000 makes really good sense to start continuing that rallying to the upside on the daily. So Bitcoin is looking beautiful. It's really hard to ask for much more on Bitcoin, but I think if you miss that dip down, you got to be looking for some better prices on a shallow pullback. Bitcoin Cash did give us sale prices as well. 0.11 missed 0.1, which is what I've really been waiting for, but they did give us at least that 0.11. They pushed all the way up to a 0.125 before kind of faltering out and going range bound still. I would still love to see one more snap to the downside to 0.1. I think that's going to be major sale pricing. That's like blue light special half off kind of deals, right? So obviously I would love to see that. Whether or not we're going to get it, we can never be sure. I think that 0.11 area was a nice place to jump on in, but that 0.1 does still look really juicy, and I have to assume that with that bounce off of those lows, if they do get one more tap, there are likely going to be a lot of stops underneath that for buyers who tried to buy in at that 0.11 and don't want to hang on. I've got to imagine that that is a beautiful place to look for some accumulation from the buyers, once again, at that 0.1. So we're just kind of hanging out in the middle. Really, the overall objective to the upside, I would be looking for around 0.125. I think that makes good target objectives for the short term. In the long term, though, I'm looking back up towards 0.155, maybe even a little bit further. If it really wants to take off, I mean, we could be looking for some big prices up to towards 0.2, doing a full double up on price, but that could be a little ways out there yet. So I think in the short term, looking for 0.125 up to 0.13 makes a lot of sense, and especially if we can get another dip down to that 0.1, I would be a very happy camper. Over on Ethereum, we are catching a nice little rally to the upside here. The buyers are making it very clear what market they believe in the most right now, and that happens to be Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum looks the most bullish out of the alternative coins that aren't Bitcoin. Everything looks pretty good to the upside here. We're sitting on pullback territory right now. Not only are we sitting on the moving average, you can see the floor that they're putting in here, but we're also coming back to retest those previous swing high swing areas that we kind of broke out of. Not to mention the fact that just eyeballing it, this looks to be about a 50% pullback as well. Now we have three levels of confluence all stacking up in the exact same place. You've got the fib buyers looking to buy in, you've got the moving average buyers looking to buy in, you have the swing structure buyers buying in. There's a lot of reason to believe that the anticipation of this is to be a buy move back up towards those highs to finish off that 755 area once again in the overnight session. Over on Litecoin, just a phenomenal dip. Again, we had that sale prices, and it even gave you wholesale prices. I was looking for sale prices at 0.15 rather. They dipped all the way down to 0.0115. So massive sale pricing that we had on that dip lower, and just a huge bounce off of that. At the moment, Litecoin isn't doing anything. We've been range bound over the last couple days, but for the most part, it's still looking really good to the upside, especially with that exhaustion in the lows. Even if it does dip lower, I have to assume that buyers are going to aggressively snap that up for a higher low, maybe around that close of that move to the downside. We could be looking at a retest of around 11.5, but either way, this is very bullish. We're looking at buyers continuing the cycle to the upside. The only thing that stands in our way now is falling resistance, and if we can start breaking that, then it's all systems go to that full high at 0.019. So we've got a lot of upside potential, a beautiful snap sale. The wholesale price is down at 11.5. Now it's just a matter of waiting, right? Hold on to it, wait, let the market do its thing, and rally towards the highs. Then we have our couple altcoins that we're looking at here. GBG is looking really strong to the upside. Monster breakout with huge continuation, pushing all the way up towards 4,600 Satoshi. I would really like to see a pullback here. I think we're really, really high up, and that was a fairly exhaustive candle. Now, a pullback is relative. We have the previous swing highs, which would make a beautiful area at 2,400, but at the same time, we've blown so far away from them that even just a dip below 3,000 might be all they give you for maybe a moving average test, that big bear response on that big bull breakout. Either way, though, we're looking for slightly better prices to buy into. 3,000 and lower, I think, make a lot of sense. 2,500, I would start considering that to be wholesale for a rally back up towards the highs. And then EDG. This is actually based off of a crypto gambling site. It's something of kind of interest when they're called EDG because it's called edgeless, right? It's with the online casino having zero edge. It's unheard of in the casino industry. And right now we are pulling back heavily. Now that said, we are in a potential area of interest. We have a large pullback down to 61.8 on the fib side of things. We've been in consolidation for quite a while, and this is the first real big rally that we've seen above those highs. But I don't necessarily want to jump in right now. If we zoom into price, we can see that this is a fairly heavy move down. So even though we are testing the 61.8, we've got a lot of reasons to believe the buyers might want to come in here. It's really hard to shake the idea that with such a big move down, it might not see one more leg lower. So really what I would rather see is 18,000 down here for a potential buy and look for a lift back up towards 2,800 or so. And then from there, they can do whatever they want. But that is the primary area that I'm looking for, is around 18,000 up to 28,000 for that bounce. And if they want to go back up to the highs, then so be it. But I'm looking for those slightly deeper sale prices if EDG can give it to us. So that's going to be the outlook for the cryptos and the futures markets. Plenty of stuff to work with, and coming back off of a pretty good day of movement, although a lot of them are ending as a doji. At least we had some things moving, because it's something to be hopeful for going into tomorrow's trading. So, as always, doesn't matter what market you're approaching, make a plan, trade that plan, follow those rules, and you'll be A-okay. Until next time, we'll see y'all then.